is exactly 28%.
Awesome.
Past.
And there's a huge spike.
There's huge. And at 34 there's a huge dip.
It's a huge. I have seen the Tamil Nadu results, and you see that whole of the education system is cooked up over there.
Well, depends on whether you want to call it cooked up or kindness.
It's 20,000, 30,000 students out of 50,000 students have got 30 plus, right? And 30,000 out of 50,000.
Yes.
What I suggest actually is that, I mean, if you look at geography and time, because these are natural quantities, I mean, text and numbers are much more likely to give you artificial data, right? So whether it is people cooking up,
Even with time and geography. So time, for instance, we saw how people were just reporting.
but that behaves more like a number.
True. Geography, I don't know, well, maybe this is more natural phenomenon. You do find, for instance, higher population distributions around rivers and coasts, stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. That's probably more a case of it being naturally driven than from a reporting perspective. I don't know if there are any examples where there are reporting, there's a reporting fraud in geography. We were discussing one with a couple of infrastructure companies. The problem that they are facing is we want to know where each of our engineers are at any point in time. Now, these service engineers could say, I'm on a call at this particular house, but he could be happily sitting at home at that point. So we need to know exactly where we are. And their first plan was to give them all a GPS device. But the trouble with the GPS device is that he could say that he is where the GPS device is, but he doesn't have to have it with him. So leave the GPS device at office, call up, and he says, oh, I'm at the office. Which means that his phone has to be the GPS device as well. But we are yet to encounter data which suggests geographic fraud, perhaps because that doesn't exist in large volume yet. I mean, either the data doesn't exist or that kind of fraud doesn't
Unless you figure out how to split a SIM, right? To have the same phone be rung in two places.
It may be cheaper to just bribe somebody. It's also possible to extend and transform numbers, and I'm going to run quickly through this. One way of transforming numbers is scaling them. This is relatively obvious. You can do linear scaling. So one kind of scaling is to say as a percentage of the total. So let's say marks are from 0 to 200. I just scale it to a percentage of the total marks, or as a percentage of the highest mark score, or scale everybody's runs to as a percentage of the highest number of runs that they scored. So which would be what Sehwag's 200 and something. And so between proportions and comparisons, you are effectively just dividing or multiplying by some constant number to get a new number. Very rarely do you see difference in insights because of this. It is more a way of communicating. It's more a way, you may find it easier to say that, I can't think of an example of that, but just conveying the message as a percentage may have more meaningful results than if you convey them as absolute numbers. Another way of scaling numbers is to raise them to a power. The most commonly used reason for doing this is when you are representing it on a chart. For example, if you have a bubble plot, let's say you're plotting the area by sales. Now, one common mistake that people do is plot the radius as the sales. The area is proportional to the square of the radius. So you want to take the square root of the radius and plot that in proportion. So that's one reason why you would take a power. But in general, if you raise it to any power less than 1, it tends to de-emphasize the results, scales down the differences, assuming the numbers are greater than 1. And if you scale it to a power greater than 1, it tends to emphasize the results, and people often want to see the effect of this. Logarithms are another good reason to, logarithms are another common way of finding out, transforming numbers. For example, if you had people over history and you are comparing their incomes, you would have incomes in, let's use dollars, millions of dollars, billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. And if you take the average of, well, let's take the average of Bill Gates' income and any of your incomes. You're likely to end up a lot closer, at least in terms of what it feels like, to Bill Gates' income. I mean, you effectively end up with half of his income. With respect to his, our income is close enough to 0. So there you don't want to take an average of the numbers, you want to take a logarithm of the averages. Sorry, average of the logarithms. You want to say, okay, his salary or his income, wealth, whatever, has 9 zeros, mine has 3 zeros, and the average of the two is probably 6 zeros. That's more intuitive to us. So when numbers span a huge range, it might be more meaningful for us to compare or take averages of the logarithms than the numbers themselves. Another set of transforms are, well, one is you may want to just sort the numbers. While this does not affect the numbers themselves, there is this doesn't affect the numbers themselves, it just affects the positions of the numbers. But this is a fairly useful technique when finally presenting the results. Now, for instance, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday thing for strike rate, it would have probably made more intuitive sense if they were sorted by the average strike rate. You often want to filter out unique, and get only the unique values. That's another kind of transformation you look at. You would often want to look not at the numbers, but the frequencies of the numbers. So, for instance, taking the marks. You may be interested in the marks of individual students, that's fine, but you may also be interested in how the frequencies of these are distributed. So, in this case, you would get a new set of numbers. Not first student had a mark of 30, second student a mark of 40, third student had a mark of 50, but 15 students had marks of 30, 37 students had marks of 31, which is a different set of numbers altogether. That's another way of transforming.
You transforming them into pictures or figures?
You could, but you can't take averages of,
Okay, obviously.
well, you can technically, but let's not get into that. Now you could take averages in different ways. We talked about the mean as a measure of centrality. You could also take the median. Now why does this make a difference? For similar reasons to this Bill Gates example. Supposing I have 10 people, one of whom is Bill Gates, and we want to find out who is a representative person in this group, okay, whose income we could take. Now, no matter how you average it, the income is going to be roughly 1/10 of Bill Gates' income. So what you want to do is take the middle person. Doesn't matter what their incomes are, just rank them 1 to 10 and take the 5th person's or 6th person's income and take the average of those two if you want. So medians are a great way of finding out what is representative if you suspect that there are a few numbers that could throw the whole thing out of whack. Another way of doing it is using logarithms. That may apply in some cases, that may not apply in some cases. Another reason for taking, which actually leads us directly to ranking, which is instead of taking a number, you may want to take the rank of the number. And just say, I don't care that Bill Gates is a million times richer than someone else. All I care about is that he is the richest, and then there is someone else on that list who is the second richest and the third richest. And process the ranks alone rather than the numbers. I could give you a few examples, but I'm not going to in the interest of time, just going to run through the rest. You may also want to take the minimum and maximum. So on Mondays, what is the minimum score? What is the minimum strike rate? On Mondays, what is the maximum strike rate? Let's do a comparison of those rather than the average strike rates, because I'm just curious to see how the ranges vary. With time series, things get a lot more interesting, and like with text, we barely scratch the surface with these three. One thing you could do is take a moving average. So let's say I have daily sales data. So I look at the sales that my points of sale terminals fetch every hour, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, etc., day after day. Now, what would be interesting is to see how this moves over time. But there might be spikes. What if I took a weekly average and see how that weekly average moved? That is an example of a moving average. I could also look at how things have grown. So between every Monday and Tuesday, I'm not looking at the absolute values, I'm looking at the growths. So every Monday on Monday, is there a higher growth? Tuesday on Tuesday, is there a higher growth? On which day of the week is there a higher growth compared to the same day the previous week? Another thing I could look at is this data set continuously rising? So every Monday to Monday to Monday, is my sales steadily rising? Whereas on Saturdays, it's been either relatively flat or steadily falling. Goes on, huge list. Let me just summarize by saying, what we've gotten is an algorithm that can give us potentially interesting results if we just apply it blindly, which is find the groups and the numbers. For each group, for each number, calculate the averages and see if they are significantly different. That's going to throw you a list from which you can pick and choose your interesting ones. The art is now moved to a relatively smaller domain, which is trying to come up with more numbers and more groups. and that's something you'll want to spend some time. I've talked about one method of automated analysis, which is segmented averages. We have not touched upon correlations, cross tabulations, time shifted regressions, outlier detection, auto classification, and many more, all of which are potential candidates for automated regression, automated analysis. None of which we will probably be, we might be covering one or two in this course, but potentially not. Remember that we've covered something that easily constitutes 90% of most of the analysis that's done today in the world. Let me end with that. If there are any questions regarding how whether you want to apply to projects, etc., please let me know. Also, at least for the Karnataka maths data, I have the data set with me, and those who are doing that project can feel free to pick it up.